Ladies and gentlemen, it does correlate to the gaming news. Breaking 2 hours before I started this stream, ladies and gentlemen, it would seem that Mr. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just banned in real life, he was banned on the game. Now, if you don't keep up with what's going on in the world because you're one of those people that loves to live ignorantly, just to catch you up on speed on who Mr. Jeffrey Epstein is. Mr. Epstein was somebody who had he was a billionaire who owned his own private island. And on that island, he would invite the world's elites. When I say elites, talking politicians, athletes, celebrities, musicians, all that type, rich people. And they would throw lavish parties. And at these parties, they would do things where they would abuse people. They would abuse women and children, unfortunately. And he documented it all. He recorded it all to blackmail these people, to control them. And this is why it's a big deal if you haven't been paying attention, because a lot of those people that were at that island are in Congress right now. And one of them is sitting in the White House. Now, what does that have to do? Which, by the way, another weird thing about him too is, by the way, I've never been suicidal. There's also been a conversation around where did he get his money from? Because despite how you feel about Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, or Jeff Bezos, their money is organic. We know where it came from. We were able, especially if you're my age or a millennial, you were able to document these people's stories and you understood where their net worth, where their income is coming from. One of the conversations around Mr. Epstein that's also weird too, is nobody seems to know where this man money come from. He just happened to wrap his finger around the world's elites. We can't trace his billions. Now, there is a theory out there. It has something to do with a country, but I'm not going to get into that. They might knock me offline if I say too much. Just know I've never been suicidal. But that's beside the point. What this has to do with gaming, which is funny because last year people told me stop talking about this shit. But politics, whether you're into it or not, it's going to get into you, ladies and gentlemen. We've also got news as of today. Mr. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just banned in real life for doing crazy shit. He was also banned on Xbox Live back in 2013 for harassments, threats, and or abuse of players that was severe and repeated and excessive. Let's see. Crypto was a great way for him to make some money. Well, you got to keep in mind, this is in the early 2000s when he was really doing his thing. So crypto wasn't the way that he made his money. I have theories, but I'm not going to get into that. Anyways, so according to this document, this is, I guess, a document Xbox released. It's a notice of permanent enforcement action. What happened? This email is to notify you that Xbox Live account privileges have been permanently suspended due to harassment, threats, or abuse of other players. This conduct has been determined to be severe, repeated, and or excessive. Why we enforced it? The conduct that has caused the suspension may include, but is not limited to, threats of death, harm, property damage, or any act of violence or vandalism, verbal abuse or profanity of other players, griefing, extortion, and manipulation, libel, defamation, or slander, display or transmission of personally identifiable information such as name, address, phone number, or IP. This nigga, Jeffrey Epstein, was doxing people. He got completely wiped off of Xbox Live in 2013. So why do I want to bring this up? It's not just to show you that there's a correlation between gaming and politics. We've been doing this in regards to talking about console and PC part prices. But I also wanted to bring this up just to remind you why it's important not to fall for the distraction that came out today. This nigga's been bombing countries, arresting journalists, shooting people in the street because he doesn't want all of these files to come out because it's going to make a lot of people look bad, whether it's somebody in the White House or it's definitely some people in that goddamn Congress. Because I cannot express to you, do you know how much of a shit stain you have to be to get permanently banned off of Xbox Live? Friendly reminder, I built my name from talking shit on Xbox Live. This is the one time in the chat where it is appropriate to talk about the MWN days. If you was there, you know I said a lot of fucking shit. Things that I wouldn't say today because I've gotten older, I've gotten more mature. I still talk some shit, but there's different ways to go about it. But I was wilding in them fucking lobbies when I was 17, 18, 19 years old. I didn't get permanent. I never, and mind you, back in 2013, because this is actually prime MWN days. My gaming YouTube started in 2012. Like 2012 to 2014 was the prime MWN days. I didn't get banned off of Xbox Live. So just to put it in perspective of how big of a piece of shit this dude was, not only was he on this island with the world's elites, harming women and children, when he was done with that, when everybody got on the plane or when everybody was sleeping in his house after the party, this nigga would hop on Xbox Live with a headset and do it digitally. What the fuck are we talking about? And he's the worst kind because he was doxing people. It wasn't fuck you, you're bad at the game. He was doxing people. This is fucking crazy, bro. What is this? Is this? I'm looking at this. Is this the Tom Warren shit? Or is this an update, Cammy? Please don't tell me this is fake. Gonna ruin my whole fucking story. Oh, it's more. Okay. So the ban, this is an update, shout out to Cammy. The ban was related to the policy of the New York Attorney General's partnership with Microsoft and other gaming companies to remove New York registered sex offenders. So he was already a registered sex offender back then, and he was on Xbox Live. Oh, so the story is, this is crazy. Shout out to Ibusu with the gifted subs. So why did I bring this up on stream? I say all that to say this. Today, your government, because I didn't vote for this shit, arrested a journalist for covering something, which is a violation of the First Amendment. They didn't have a warrant. And from what I checked, like in the last hour, I think they said they released him. And that's because it's in coincide with the release of the Epstein files. We got to get these niggas the fuck out of here. Do not fall for the distraction. Keep being loud. Let's keep getting those files. I need all my demons, all my supreme readers, all my what's Doctor Strange, the master, the mystique or whatever. I need the master of readers, whatever the fuck he called. Elite, I need all elite readers to get on them e-files, them 3 million files that came out, and we need to figure out what the fuck is going on. It's getting spooky out here, bruh. Meanwhile, Pretty's killer's on paid leave. Right. RIP to Alex, bro. That's some bullshit. These next 72 hours are going to be crazy. Yeah, the Sorcerer Supreme, my bad. I need the Reader Supremes to get on this shit. Exactly. The next 72 hours is going to be crazy because, like I said, the files just dropped this morning. But the thing is, it's 3 million documents. So it's going to take time for people to go through and find stuff. So we'll see next week. We'll see. And by the way, that's not all the files. There's still millions more files that are supposed to be coming. It's just a matter of, did they redact everything? Couple rappers in them docs too. That's not shocking. Lock them all up. That's what I say. Lock them all up, bro. I don't like nobody's music, nobody's art enough to let that shit slide. Politicians too. I'm not a fan of any fucking politician, first of all. Lock them all up is what I say. Reset the whole goddamn system. But I thought this story was crazy because I'm like, do you know how big of a piece of shit you got to be to get banned off of fucking Xbox Live? Mind you, this is back when everybody wasn't so sensitive. So it wasn't, you weren't really getting reported like that. Like, that's why I said, like, I never got banned off of Xbox Live. You got banned off this shit? Yeah. In other news, I heard it was Pusha T. I hope it's not true. If he on it, lock him up. Lock him up. What I will say, though, is, before we move on, what I will say is, I do find it interesting that it's always like the first names that pop up are like black elites. Don't fall for that. That's another trap too. Don't get me wrong, lock his ass up, but don't fall for that trap as well. For some reason, we don't seem to hear about any of these politicians, these shakers and these movers, but they love to find the black people on the paperwork. Lock them all up. But I'm like, why is that the first name that came up in the chat? Bill Gates too. Oh, I'm not surprised. That nigga's weird. Yeah, where the senators at? That's what I want to know. In other news, GDC survey shows Switch 2 is proving to be a desirable platform for developers. Rare W for Nintendo. The Switch 2 is approaching its 8-month anniversary, and goddamn, time flies. And developers across the world are interested in getting their games on the new gaming system out there. At least that's what GDC's latest State of Gaming Industry survey reveals. The report shows that almost 40% of developers surveyed are at least interested in the Switch 2. That puts it fourth, but barely, as the PS5 and Steam Deck are both 40%, while the PC is way ahead at 80%. Looking at a few other platforms, the Switch 2 is almost twice as popular as the Xbox Series, which only 20% of those sampled the developers are apparently interested in. Nobody wants to make games for the Series X or the Series S, because that shit is a PS4. The Xbox Series S and the PS4 are, in terms of platforms that developers have used to release their most recent games, the Switch consoles are a little lower. Of course, those are old. The reason I wanted to highlight this is we talked about the Xbox shit the other day, but I didn't know the Switch numbers. It's worth highlighting to say that at least it means that there's probably going to be more third-party support for the Switch too, because it's a little bit more powerful. Nintendo's notoriously always kind of lacked behind when it comes to third-party support, but that's good to hear that at bare minimum they are interested. It's probably going to take another year before you start to see a lot of games come out, but if the Switch 2 is only your only platform, it's looking like it's in a good place according to this survey, because at the end of the day, with this, the problem with this survey is it says that they're interested. It doesn't mean they are going to put their games on there. Or it could be a situation where they are interested, but Nintendo's making it hard. Because from my understanding, it is hard to get a dev kit for the Switch 2. So Nintendo might not be the easiest to work with. So take this with a grain of salt. That emote goes crazy. You talking about this shit? Because on the flip side, we also have this argument. Final Fantasy VII Remake director says porting to the low-end Switch 2 is a challenge. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate is now available on the Switch 2, and it's a more significant moment for the series than you might think. After all, Final Fantasy began its life as the Nintendo exclusive RPG series. Speaking to Polygon at the game's recent launch event at Nintendo's New York store, the director explained why the port makes a homecoming moment for Final Fantasy and why getting it working on the Switch 2 was no easy task. While there's no shortage of classic Final Fantasy games on the Switch, the series' more recent entries have yet to make the jump on the Nintendo console. You won't find Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy Origin, though you will occasionally get spin-offs like the Final Bar line. What the fuck is that? Getting the Final Fantasy VII Remake working on the Switch 2 is a meaningful milestone, and one that may open the door for more games outside of the Remake trilogy for the Nintendo's platforms. The Final Fantasy franchise was originally on the Nintendo platform and grew throughout history. With the original Final Fantasy VII, that's when we made the transition to PlayStation. Nintendo being a platform for Final Fantasy VII in 2026 definitely means a lot to me, and not just with Final Fantasy VII. We're hoping that with more Final Fantasy franchise titles coming to the Nintendo platform, we're able to expand and reach more Nintendo fans. If you were a Nintendo CEO, what would you change? Well, first of all, shout out to you for the super chat, Dion. What I would change, I would make it more, the dev kits more accessible. I would make their online, if they're going to keep the quality of their online at this same level, I would make the online free. I'm sorry, Nintendo's online is not worth paying for. But if it's free, I won't complain. But even at $20, like, that shit is not worth paying for. And keep in mind, you know that price gonna go up eventually. And I'd just build more relationships with third-party developers. Maybe look at some studios that are financially struggling and acquire them, because Nintendo got money. So Nintendo could pull a Microsoft or a Sony, and they could buy some of these studios that are financially struggling, but they make great games, make them exclusive to the Switch 2, kind of like what they did with Bayonetta 2. They saved Bayonetta, so like that's what I would do. And maybe look into stop putting out platforms that are super weak. I know that's Nintendo's design philosophy, and it's been it for the longest, but I feel like it puts them in a really weird place, because here we are. The Switch 2 hasn't even been out but 6 to 8 months or something like that. And although they were able to get Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Switch 2, the devs are low-key complaining it was hard to do. And keep in mind, this is like what, like a 4-year-old game or some shit? Imagine about 5 years from now, when we're on the because Nintendo always releases in between the Xbox and the PlayStation. They don't release around the same time. Imagine 5-6 years from now, when the PS6 and the next Xbox are out. You know, we're on probably the 70 series, the 7080s are out. It's going to be another situation where Nintendo puts their back against the wall, and the Switch 2 ports of the latest games from fucking 2032 are going to look like. So I wanted to highlight this article to say, like, yeah, like they're saying they're happy that they made it on the Switch 2, but it sounds like they're struggling to get it on the Switch 2. 1080 interlaced. They don't want to port them to their little heaters. Yeah, I think it's a yellow flag that this console is just came out and developers are already struggling because to put their games on there. Let me see. Final Fantasy VII Remake release date. Yeah, it came out in 2020. I'm bugging. God damn, time flies. This shit came out in 2020. So the developer, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade this to a red flag. So the developers are low-key complaining that it was tough to port a 6-year-old game to a console that just came out last year. That's not a good sign. Imagine when we're in 2030, bruh, and beyond. Boy. That's why I'm not in a rush to get a Switch 2. The only thing it's good for is like the exclusives. But as a Nintendo fan, as a fan of Nintendo, the lack of proper third-party support is annoying as a fuck. Also considering it's hard to be a Nintendo fan because like if you're balling on a budget, you can only afford one platform and you really love Nintendo games, you low-key got to go to PC. Because everybody know the best Nintendo games are on PC. I ain't gonna tell you how. But if you can only afford one platform, why would I buy a Nintendo? Them games is running at 20 frames per second at 1080p. It's not good value when you're trying to stretch your dollar. You're gonna sell to the 70s. Like, why would I can play a Nintendo game in 4K on another platform? I'm not gonna tell y'all how to do it, but you can do it. I ain't gonna tell you how to, and it's not hard, by the way. Not too much though. But that's your Nintendo story. Oh, more Nintendo news. We also got more bad news as well, but this one's not that big of a deal in my opinion. So the first one was a positive story. We got a negative story. This one's kind of neutral. I don't really care about this one. I don't think most people will. But Apex Legends is being removed from the Switch. I read this on Twitter earlier. I can summarize this article for you. Basically, the official Apex account announced that they will be removing support. The next patch that's coming out is the last patch. This is specifically for the Switch 1. They will only support the Switch 2. So if you're an Apex fan, all 5 of you that play on the Nintendo Switch, they will be shutting down support for it, and you are going to have to upgrade to the Switch 2 or get a PS5, a PC, or an Xbox. That's about the gist of it. I don't think this is a big deal. The Nintendo Switch is literally a fucking teenager. Get over it. Shout out to Sir Beats with the $20 super chat. He said, shout out to the consistency. By the way, you're very skilled at hosting and mediating on the podcast. The formatting and the pacing is very tight and high level. Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You said hosting is a skill. It's almost like I had a TV show or something like that. Wish niggas would have gave it a chance. I'm not saying you didn't, but you know, if somebody need a host, holla at me, bro. Fucking holla at me. I can do that shit. Yeah, I'm intentionally like that, and I let them know before the show. Like for right now, because we're doing the podcast weekly and we all have our own separate lives as adults, I made it very clear, like, we not going more than 2 hours. Really, I'd prefer the show to be an hour, hour and a half. The max I'll do is 2.5 hours. So like when we're recording, like I'm always looking at the clock, and if I feel like them niggas is yapping too much, lightning round, like I'll speed that bitch up, bro. We not gonna be sitting here all day. Like Watts was yapping on that damn Crimson Desert interview. I said I wanted that interview to be 20 to 30 minutes. I looked at, I was like, all right, come on. Like, I'll speed that bitch up. That's why at the end, I was like, all right, I got one more. We got time for one more question. Like the developer didn't actually set a timer. He didn't tell us how long it had to be. I said that shit. I said, we got time for one more question. I made that shit up. If nobody got a question, I got one. Yeah, we run a tight ship over here. I'm big on fucking efficiency, man. And then shout out to Miles with the super chat. He said, what's up? I'm getting married tomorrow. Shout out to you. Appreciate the streams while I'm preparing for the wedding. Don't be musty, chat. Shout out to you, man. Congrats. I appreciate the super chat. I do like the yapping. Yeah, but there's a limit to it, man. There's a limit to it. Because there's diminishing returns, right? If you keep going for too long, there's diminishing returns. So there's no difference. We have more momentum releasing an hour and a half, 2 hour episode every week versus releasing it 3-4 hours every once a month. It's just better momentum. But next bit of news, I mentioned it earlier. This was a giant surprise. Shout out to the developers of Highguard. The internet wants to see this game fail Personally, I think it's like a 7 out of 10. They got some work to do. There's some issues with it, but I do like the game. And I say shout out to the developers because they're not taking shit personal. One of the big critiques people have had is that the maps are too big and they don't like the 3v3 format. They rather see 4v4 or 5v5. Me personally, I don't agree with that. I don't think most of you guys played the game long enough to understand how it works and how it's supposed to flow. I think the 3v3 allowed for more strategy. And don't lie, because we got the data. 90% of the reviews come from people who played the game 30 minutes or less, but that's beside the point. I'm still going to clout them up because in this world where people take things a lot of real personal, the devs did not take personal the feedback that a lot of you have been giving, and they have introduced a 5v5 mode. This is actually the third patch they dropped this week. So I'm not saying this game is going to succeed, but they definitely don't want it to fail. They are listening, and I hope at bare minimum people come back and give it a try. And give proper feedback. I'm seeing some mixed things about 5v5 online. Some people are liking it. Some people are saying 4 might be the sweet spot. But here's the trailer that they announced today. And the update is actually available. I should download this shit because we're supposed to be playing it tonight. It's updated now. Were the producers at G4 in your ear constantly, or were they when you were live on the air, or did they count you to break? We had to wear earpieces, but they weren't constantly in our ear. Like, yeah, I had an earpiece in my ear. It was very small, almost like an AirPod. It wasn't an AirPod, but it's kind of like the size of one. You put it in your ear. But they weren't like telling me what to say and what to do. It was more so of like, all right, in 3, 2, 1, we're live, go. And then you wouldn't hear nothing in your ear. And then depending on how long the segment would be, let's say like we're doing like a 20-minute segment. At the 15-minute mark, you'll hear somebody in your ear. All right, guys, you got 5 more minutes. All right, guys, you got two more minutes. All right, 30 seconds till break, wrap it up. That's all you, it was never them telling us what to do or like how to dictate the conversation. It was more just letting you know when we have to go to break. It was very simple. That's how TV as a whole works. And you also have to be careful because if your mic is hot, you don't want to say nothing. Get your ass in trouble. I used to always say on the hot mic, pay the cameraman, pay the audio people. They used to love me. When we'd be on set waiting, I used to always be on the mic, get a cameraman a raise, get an audio techs a raise. They working hard over here. I'm just looking pretty on camera. So they used to always see me in the hallway. Like, we appreciate you, TVH. I got you, bro. I got you. You guys are important. What else we got? What up, Siggy? Oh, if you're broke, I got some news for you. Good news. The first season of Amazon's Fallout show is now free on YouTube. Fallout second season's coming to a close and it's been well worth the wait, but if you're reluctant to add yet another subscription to the streaming rotation means you haven't watched Amazon's surprisingly excellent adaptation yet, you might be interested to know that the company is currently releasing season 1 for free on the Prime Video YouTube channel. We ain't reading the rest, that's all you need to know. It's right here, it's all available. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. Now, if you really wanted to watch it, you could have watched it somewhere allegedly, but if you want somewhere safe where you don't got to worry about a virus, I'm dropping the link in the chat. The first season's only 8 episodes. I was able to watch it in 2 days. It's fucking fire if you haven't watched it. So definitely check it out. The link should have went to everybody. W for PS4 niggas. Be quiet, bro. Season 2 is fire too. I'm gonna get to it. That's pretty cool that they released it all for free. So definitely check it out if you need something to watch. Put it on your TV. What else I got for you? Oh, and technology advancing is really cool news. This is really cool to see. I'm not going to play it, but I just wanted to show it. Now launched at isocoaster.com. Free open source coaster park builder with shops, water, metal, wooden coasters, guests, food, shops, and more. No sign up required. And it has co-op. So if you want a roller coaster tycoon type of game to play for free, if you like those Sims, there's one you can play for free right now. And I think, yeah, it's in the web browser. The other day we covered, you could play Super Monkey Ball in your web browser now. If I was, when people say gaming is dead, it's crazy. We are spoiled rotten. If I would have had this shit when I was in high school playing Super Monkey Ball Roller Coaster Tycoon in the web browser, I would have never got any of my fucking work done. I don't want to hear shit. This shit is cool. I dropped the link in the chat if you're into those type of games, or if you need something to keep you busy at work. These games can be fun to a degree. You not lying, TBH? Yeah, I'd be a fucking super senior. I would be in trouble. Oh shit. And then last but not least, it has been confirmed that Beyond Good and Evil is still alive, unfortunately. It was a rumor the other day, but it's been confirmed. Beyond Good and Evil 2's director has put fans' minds at ease, reaffirming that the game remains unaffected despite the recent restructuring and layoffs at Ubisoft. Insider Gaming had exclusively revealed last week that despite being one of Ubisoft's longest in-development projects that's cost them over $500 million, by the way, Beyond Good and Evil 2 had survived the recent organizational, operational, and portfolio reset. A spokesperson later confirmed that the game remained a priority for them within their strategy centered on open world games.
Man, I'm gonna play this off stream, man. We're gonna finish this mission up off stream.
If Ubisoft keeps moving the way that they move, like me personally, if I invested $500 million and I didn't see a return yet, I would just throw it in the trash. Like, let's get that off the books. This game, if it hits the finish line, it's gonna make or break Ubisoft. This is either the greatest or the stupidest game ever created. For them to spend $500 million in development and still not release it, and then not can it either, not cancel it, they must really believe in this shit. This game's gonna make or break this fucking studio. Trust and believe. Yo, goddamn! Shout out to Mac with the $50 super chat. Mac says, "What up? Sad day realizing my gaming buds are potion and wand and ball and gun gamers. Why is it bad for them to be potion and wand and ball and gun gamers? That means they like everything. Why do gamers complain about nothing new, fresh to play, but play the same shit all the time, like COD, WoW, and fucking WoW? I'm confused by your statement. It sounds like they play everything. Maybe you're upset that they're just sticking to what they know, but it seems like they play everything. That I don't know what to tell you. They also believed in Skull and Bones. Exactly. This dumbass studio.